Live, not yet, not
There we
yet.
are.
And we're live! Woo-wee! Honeys and nunks! Fresh episode after a long needed break, or we say needed, but or else you could just say blame it on TJ. But it's been great, long time. So Jade, a lot of stuff in basketball has been going around since we last chatted. Have you been able to keep up to date with everything right now?
I mean, between my Woj notifications, my Bleacher Report notifications, and my Stat News notifications,
Step Muse.
that combo of things keeps me up to date, even if I didn't watch every single second of things.
It's kind of hard to right now. There's so much. And Shay, how you doing, girl?
I'm alive. I'm happy about that.
I know you got some rough news for one of your favorite boys. So
It's been a rough. I thought the end of the season would mean the end of a rough year, and I don't know if this is a good start to or like a good preview to what's coming for the 2021-2022 season. So, yeah.
I mean, maybe, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but maybe he's gonna get though that jewelry that everyone forever.
I made it a point to think about silver linings because I knew Shay was going to be bummed. So when we get there,
we'll get there.
And we will get there. So you guys got to stay tuned then for that. That's a little teaser. We're gonna let Shay vent for us. But before we get into today, don't forget to follow us on social media at Hardcourt Honeys on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. Don't forget about that YouTube page.
All of us individually.
Yes, and that too. Follow us. If I get more followers, I will now tweet more. I got some real crazy thoughts, and Jade and Shay can agree with that. So,
yep.
And then our Twitter is at HC Honeys. But yeah, if you start following me more, random thoughts are going to be dished out. So, okay. So first up for the day, finally, the finals. We got to them. We got through them. I'm just going to start off first with you, Jade. What was the biggest surprise for you?
The Bucks won.
Just overall.
I think it was game 4 or 5. Game 5 they played in Phoenix, right?
Yes.
Game 5, I was like, the Bucks are going to win the series.
Yeah.
Up to that point, I thought it could go either way, and then I watched Game 5, and it's like, no, the Suns are not there yet.
No, fam.
But it took till Game 5 for me.
I think I was about the same. I think I was still holding out hope. But, yeah, Game 5, I was like...
I got nervous once Chris Paul went 2-0.
Ooh, yeah.
I was just like, no. Scott Foster, no.
That's the other thing. Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Because we shouldn't. So I told Patrick that stat before the finals game that Scott Foster officiated. And he's like, we shouldn't know who they are like that. But everybody knows Scott Foster. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good point. And now I think with the final game, it's like Chris Paul hasn't won any of the last 13 games that Scott Foster officiated. I mean, like, that's too many, man.
At what point is it excessive, Shay, that they need to look into it?
I mean, anytime that there is kind of that uncovering, they should look into it. Only to make sure, because that is like a weird coincidence. Like, this isn't even 5 in a row. This is over a dozen. I mean, it's rather safe than sorry. And if you guys are wanting to have fair games and fair officiating, you should probably pay attention to this stuff. Especially if other people are catching on. It's a little weird.
And even if it's just a matter of don't put him on Chris Paul's games, it doesn't mean you're admitting that anybody did anything wrong, but you need to remove even the appearance or the possibility. Like, just
At least
get rid
in the
of it.
finals.
For sure in the finals. Yes.
Yeah.
If it were for me, I would go back and look to see, okay, was it just the team itself that lost, or did Chris Paul have like a rough game that had to deal with that? I'd like to go check with that. But I mean, that causes a lot of effort to look around through all of that stuff. So I don't want to go to NBA reference right now with that.
Unless the NBA is going to throw some money at one of us, we'll do it.
I mean, yeah, get us that bump.
All three of us.
Yeah, exactly. That's another way to get, all three of us. Shay, can the Bucks return to the promised land, or was this their one and done shot?
I really think this is their one and done. I mean, especially if they keep Budenholzer. And
if they're not, he's not getting fired. They won.
I know.
That was the only way he was keeping his job.
That's the issue. That is the issue. Because really, don't get me wrong, like, Giannis did great. Like,
he did better than great.
Yeah, no, like
50 points. Pooh.
He really, any kind of doubt that I had, and yes, I had doubts about him, not because of him as a person. Like, I've always been really impressed by his work ethic and him on a personal level. He's always just like, again, his free throws always were kind of weird for me. And I don't know after this finals if I have the same kind of feeling. I am very impressed by him now. But I think if the Suns had been up to par that they had been in the round prior, I don't think the Bucks would have won. I think they got really, really lucky this time around. We always said that the Suns were not going to the finals, that this was not their year. And I think that they did, fortunately, get there early. They got a chance at it. It wasn't their year, though. So now that the Bucks have done it, I don't think they'll be doing it again. Like,
this was their make or break.
Yeah, this literally was it. And
I just want
to. The only way to keep Bud, and he's still there.
I want to go on record as saying I did have the Suns going to the finals from the beginning of the playoffs. I took them in my bracket all the way down.
You did.
Also Taylor. So there's that.
They were my free agent team in the East, or in the West, and the Bucks were my free agent team in the East.
Ooh.
So both ways, I wasn't gonna lose no matter what.
Good for you. Cool.
Nice. I'm gonna talk about the Bucks a little bit.
Yeah, I was just about to.
Do I still think Budenholzer is a terrible coach? Yes. Do we know he's gonna stay? Yes. Can the Bucks get to the finals again? If Brooklyn's not healthy, 100% they're going to the finals.
That's true.
And at this point, even if we don't like Budenholzer as a coach, and I still don't, I don't care that he took them to the final. Like, I paid attention every time he was mic'd up during the playoffs, and I was like, what is he saying? Like, what is this? What? And then I would, you get the games with Steve Nash and Budenholzer. Nash would be like succinct and specific about. And Budenholzer basically was just a cheerleader in every single huddle I saw him in. So whatever. Do I think he's a good coach? No. Do you change the coach the year after you get your first final? Also no.
Like,
you can't now. You shouldn't.
He finally switched the idea of keeping Giannis in the post and letting him do that.
He did finally show a little bit of flexibility. I still think Giannis deserves a better coach. I think a better coach would make it easier for them to get back to the finals. But the facts are, Budenholzer's keeping his job.
The finals were the only way he was going to keep the job, too. Only way.
I think there is every chance they get to the finals again, because even though Brooklyn didn't implode on itself the way we predicted, they still had a lot of problems. They had a lot of injury problems. Kyrie Irving had a lot of personal day problems. And I don't think that's necessarily, I don't think we can assume that's going to resolve next season. We have to wait and see if it does. If it doesn't, the Bucks are primed to go to the finals again next year.
Oh, you make some good points.
But
those Hawks.
I'm still not sold with them because they might not sign John Collins again.
No, I know. I
They
saw
just
that.
picked up DeLon Wright, though.
Yep.
That's a solid role player piece.
DeLon Wright's great.
I mean, is he going to be a starter for the team? And that's a legitimate question. I don't know.
I think
much
he would.
about that.
I think he should start in Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah. He might be that starter.
he's a
What
great
year
point
is he
guard.
in? What year is he in?
4 or 5, I want to say.
Okay. Just because like I see him on my 2K game, but I'm playing from 2K20, so I'm a little bit behind with the years with it.
I feel
So
that same.
now swinging over to the Suns, is the Sun set finally for the title chance for CP3, Jade?
If you'd have asked me the day before yesterday, I would have said no. Today, with Westbrook going to LA, I'm gonna have to say yes. I think. I mean, I think staying with the Suns is his best chance right now. You don't want to have to start over again in another system, and the Suns are going to be competitive next year for sure. But if Westbrook plays in LA, I think LA's going to the coming out of the West next year. As things stand right now. As things stand right now. Okay. Well, maybe we can see Chris Paul managing the contract a little bit more. Or actually, I want to go back to the Bucks. I finally remember what I was going to say. So we were saying, okay, we got to watch out for Kyrie with the healthy Nets. Drew Holiday was killer with Chris Paul and Devin Booker.
Yeah.
So would that even make too much of a difference there, Jade? Since you brought it up before.
Would what make a difference if Kyrie isn't available?
No, if even if Kyrie is available, Drew Holiday still being able to lock him down. So would that be even that big of a difference?
I mean, if Brooklyn is all healthy, you still got to stop James Harden and Kevin Durant.
Well, then you also have Chris Middleton. We all love about Chris Middleton, and then you got Giannis on KD.
I don't. First of all, I think Budenholzer has demonstrated he's not going to play Giannis on KD.
Right.
Been there, done that. Didn't happen. Like for 48 points, it didn't happen. For while he played every single minute of that game, it did. So like, if he didn't do it this time around, I don't know that I would expect it. That's what I would do. Don't get me wrong; it's 100% what I would do. But I think Budenholzer's demonstrated that that's not what he's going to do.
There's potential
in that case,
for that, but
it still blows my mind that you have a defensive player of the year who was also built to be Kevin Durant's kryptonite. Like, there is no other player in the league that is built to better guard Kevin Durant. So, and he's been a defensive player of the year. So why, like, my brain will never wrap around this. This is why it doesn't matter to me that he won a ring. It won't matter to me if he wins another one. Unless somebody ever asks him and he can convincingly explain why that decision was made, Budenholzer will be a terrible coach, in my opinion.
Okay, one last thing on the Bucks. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, so if they were going to do that, I would think about it differently, but I don't think that's going to happen. And if you have to stop all three of them and Giannis is not guarding Kevin Durant, I think you're out of luck.
All of that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so I think we got that. We finally got our finals takes in. Now we're gonna be hitting up the draft last night. So I don't know too much about college basketball and stuff like that. So when the draft kind of comes, I primarily just look for the moves that come with it, like the trades. But so this is and also since Timberwolves don't have a pick, I didn't. So I'm going to see what Shane and Jade have to think about it, since their teams even had picks and everything. So I'm just going to ask for both of you. Jade, going into the draft, how much do you know about these players?
Almost nothing.
Shay, how about you?
I knew that Cade Cunningham was probably going to go number 1, but that's also because he was on Oklahoma State. I watched a little bit of University of Oklahoma basketball. There's a national rivalry there. But other than that, I didn't know a lot.
Yeah, I
And I
only
knew the Cade Cunningham thing because I follow Woj.
Right. I think my issue with the draft, and as we've seen with some of these other players, which I think all of our teams have at different points had players who were, either drafted number 1, traded, who were in a good draft position, or who were undrafted, who completely blow it out of the water. So it's like, I think where I get confused with the draft is just like, how much stock do we take into it? Don't get me wrong, there are like teams that definitely need certain positions or that are at like their max and won't be able to bring on like a free agent the same way. But it's just confusing to me because a lot of these guys, like, having that potential. I mean, I think about like poor Zion and like the way that he was expected to do so much in his first season and it didn't quite happen. And I still feel like he's like living up to that. And there's still kind of like the NBA in general is like putting the Pelicans on these major like national televised games. And I mean, he did end up warming up really nicely in this past season, but that means that's his second season that we're finally getting the hype out of it, right? And I feel kind of bad for these young guys having to feel like they have to live up to a certain hype if they're not physically or mentally at that point yet. So I have like a lot of like ethical dilemmas with, I think, the draft, just because these are young guys, but I also love the NBA. So I try to stay up with it and try to see, what's going on. And this is the next, I mean, you think of the past draft classes. I mean, we're still talking about the Luka Trae Young thing. So it's like, there are moments where we have really strong, super strong draft classes who end up living up to that potential. But then we also have so many players that, I mean, Lou Dort was undrafted, and he's going to continue to build to be one of the best defensive players in the league, in my totally non-biased opinion.
No bias whatsoever.
No bias.
I think things have shifted considerably, and if you weren't paying attention, you probably missed it, and the draft shows it. And it's for a positive thing. So it didn't get a lot of fanfare, and it's been a slow ramp, but 2 seasons ago, maybe, I can't remember exactly how long ago it was, but it's within the last couple of years, the NBA changed the rules for the G League so that you could go from high school to the G League and start making money. If you're paying attention, the draft is changing, and that's why. It has
second player was G League.
The second player came from the G League. We also had lottery players drafted from overseas. This is going to be more and more common.
Yeah.
And the NBA forced the hand of college sports to allow the players to make money on their name and likeness.
Yes.
The NBA doing that with the G, like, it was always going to come, but I believe that the NBA making this avenue available for, okay, you don't have to go to college and make millions of dollars for these network deals and get nothing. Not only get nothing, get in trouble if somebody helps you move, or like all of these ridiculous things. Because the NBA said, well, you can come and play in the G League. Now, college sports is going to change forever. Football, basketball, all of it. And the way they do the draft, every single person has their family on stage with them. They get to bring their kids, their parents. Like, the NBA is really making it a family first thing. And this is better preparing them for life as an NBA player. Playing professionally overseas prepares them better than college has. Playing in the G League prepares them better than college has, for the media, for the traveling, for... like, it's just a different level once there's money involved that has to go to the talent, the players.
Yeah.
So I really liked the draft. I like the way the NBA has done it. I like that they are really embracing the pop culture and the fashion part of it, because, like, they got to walk down those they were runways because
straight up was a runway.
they're all showing off their fits. Some of their families were dressed amazing. Like I thought it was really fun. I think it's a smart way to get these kids more prepared because they're going to do it, right? Yeah. You're not going to take away the opportunity for these kids to go to declare for the draft. So the least you can do is prepare them for it better. And the way that college sports is about to change will also prepare them for it better because now they have their own brand. They're going to have their own money. If they're smart, they're paying attention to how the NBA is handling it.
Well, if they're smart, also figure out that, okay, making money in college for it, what can you do to invest it if you can't go pro with it? Yeah, that's a real boring note that I'm going to add with it. But little side note for the draft, a league to look out for the future, the National Basketball League in Australia.
Yeah.
Getting some real good talent out of there. So the Euro League and the NBL are the two leagues to look out for in the draft. I know there was a lottery pick that was from the NBL this year.
If you're following the Olympics at all, you might have noticed that while the American basketball has been resting on its laurels, thinking they're best in the world has been catching up.
Yeah, It has.
I did like how Patrick Ewing, even though like we do need to Team USA does need to step up, I do appreciate that Patrick Ewing, who's a part of that original Dream Team, was like, yeah, we still would have won, but it wouldn't have been every single game 60-point blowouts. Like they are playing with talent that we didn't even have to deal with right now. Like the best player
and the guys that
isn't even from the United States. It's Luka.
And the guys that are playing USA basketball now are not as good as the Dream Team was.
Yeah, JaVale McGee.
So like the gap is a lot closer than it used to be.
Yes,
a lot.
It really is. And just think they don't even have like Team Greece there right now. So, but going back to the draft, I'm going to ask on both of you, since you guys both had picks in this draft. I'm going to grade your pick. Are you excited about it? Not excited about it? Kind of questioning about it? What's your take right now, Jade? I'll start with you.
Yeah, so, there's always the pre-draft, the mock drafts going in. Everyone's like, oh, Toronto's going to take Jalen Suggs. And I'm just always like, no, they're not. Because they never do the thing that the professional analysts think they're doing. Never, ever. So while we were watching, and since we're talking about the Raptors pick, when they do the scroll before while the team is on the clock to make their pick, Bobby Marks had his team needs. So this is what the team needs, what they might be drafting for. And one of the things they said was a starting point guard. And I'm like, the Raptors don't need a starting point guard. They just paid Fred VanVleet. Like, Freddie's a starting point guard. I'm like, who is this guy? So I looked him up. I'm like, he's an idiot. Why does he get to say stuff on TV? So as the thing goes on, I find out that he used to be Phoenix's GM. And when he was Phoenix's GM, he drafted and traded Kobe Bryant. So I was
he was the Charlotte GM at the time?
Charlotte, yes, Charlotte.
Charlotte's GM for Vlade Divac.
So I had already decided he was an idiot based on what he said about the Raptors, what they needed in the draft. And then I find out later that he traded Kobe Bryant on draft night. He's an idiot.
You could have the perfect resume, but if you had that on your record, that would still be a black note on your resume. They'd be like, "Wow, we'll get that." Wait, what did you do?
So I felt pretty good about so strongly disagreeing with him about the Raptors because I'm like, obviously, I don't know. I felt good about it after that.
I would have been okay with Suggs going to you just because Suggs is from Minnesota. He's actually from, right now I'm dog sitting for my sister in South Minneapolis. So the high school he went to is like 2 miles away.
Ooh.
So like he's a homegrown, like he is probably one of the best Minnesota players coming out since like Kevin McHale. So I mean that could be a hot take either way right now. I know there's probably some Minnesota people that be like, oh, Chris Humphreys.
But as for who Toronto drafted, like I said, I didn't know anything about anyone. Based on the tape that they showed of him, I can see why Toronto would want him. He's a two-way player. He seems to have really good fundamentals all the way around. It's the kind of I could see his face. I can't remember his name. Hold on.
We got robots in front of us.
Robots in front of us. Scotty Barnes at 4.
Right,
Florida State.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty Barnes. So you're overall okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna wait and see. Like I said, I don't know these guys. Based on what I saw in the package they put together for him, I go, yeah, I can see that. But like, I also saw a lot of packages where I was like, man, I'd like that guy. Like Shay said, it's all about the potential, and you don't know how it's going to work out. So I'm just gonna, I expect the Raptors to be back in the lottery particularly soon. Fingers crossed. So whatever, we'll see how it goes.
Like one thing that I like, but yet don't like about the draft now lately is the one and done players coming out at 19. And I don't feel like you can get a solid judge on a player until, at least in the NBA, until they're at least like 22, 23.
Right.
So, like, I'm sorry, there's not too many 19-year-olds that are all ready to go against LeBron James. Like, no. I still think if you
don't let kids start to play earlier, there never will be. Whereas in Europe, as we know, Luka Doncic is playing pro ball at 15.
Right. True.
Well, no. See, pro ball. College is different.
College is about to be the same because they get paid
about to. It hasn't been. So right now, at least with these players, since they're still just out of that, so Scotty Barnes, he's 19. I mean, I wouldn't expect for him, and I'm not trying to knock him, probably realistically 3 years until you can maybe see like some serious things from him.
Well, and it depends on the team, right? Like a lot of teams are using their G League affiliates, and it's happening more and more across the league. I think every team has an actual affiliate.
No, yeah, every team does.
It used to be that they just farmed everywhere, and they can still do that, but their own G League team, they have the first rights to those players. So I think the NBA needs to be more like European football. I know that's never going to happen, but I think there needs to be more pro leagues like there are in football. I think the G League needs to be more affiliated with the NBA. I think the worst teams should get demoted to the G League and the best teams should get promoted like they do in Premier League soccer. But that's just me. It's not just me. I've talked to other people about it, but
in Canada?
No, not just in Canada.
In Canada, go home.
Thank you, Shane.
No, I was just saying, are you just hearing that from other Canadian people?
Oh, I thought you meant the Premier League was in Canada.
No. I know the Premier League's not in Canada.
Okay, I'm just
I still take exception to that question because, like, it only Canadians would think that. Is that the implication?
I'm just messing with you. Shay, so we're gonna go. What do you think about your pick? You like him? You hate him? You questioning him?
Well, the thing is like it's a little hard right now with the Thunder because there is no structure. And
there isn't.
The structure is like, SGA is there, and there's like some other players, and then we have this really skinny like Russian dude Poku. We don't really know what to do with him. We throw him in sometimes. And then Lou Dort. And that's the OKC structure right now. So I mean, anything goes with what we're able to get. I mean, we are in a rebuild. Like, we are in a classic rebuild. New coach, we're bringing in players on players. I think
but with more picks than anyone's ever had in
right.
rebuild in the history of the NBA.
No, that's a great point, because it's like we're not just rebuilding through like trades. Like, we are rebuilding from literally the new players in the league. So I think
you have so many that if like 3 out of 5 are lemons, who cares? That's how many picks you have.
Well, the thing I do like though about the guy we got in the first round, Giddey, he's in the Australian league that y'all mentioned. So he has that experience. And he does have, I did some reading up on him. He does have some good passing, which is definitely something OKC needs. Like, again, we have no structure. So, like, things like passing.
You need everything.
Great for that. Like, we need that structure, the basic elements. Right now, we have a lot of mismatched players. So my hope is that he is able to bring in some consistency. It does seem like the 2 we got in the second round, like, could be good for, again, some of those basic things. But Giddey is definitely the one that I think was actually pretty good. I know he wasn't exactly who they were expecting OKC to pick. There was also,
like, ESPN knows.
Well, I know. And there was like an interesting conspiracy that the reason that the Raptors picked Barnes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's his name. Okay. Again, like, I felt like Jade. I was like, I see his face in my head. But the reason that they picked him is so that OKC wouldn't, because like all this stuff, I'm like, okay, but how do we know that? Like, also OKC has so many picks. If they had really wanted that pick, like, they could have attempted to trade it, or you know what I mean? Like there's so many things that go on, and I think we did pretty good with having the 6 of the first round. I do think that this was a nice pick. Like, we had a nice pick of people in this first round draft, or in the draft in general. So I don't know. I have a lot of hope for Giddey, especially with kind of the ragamuffin team we have at the moment. Like, anyone can kind of be on the OKC right now, and you could probably get a starting position. Like,
I mean, don't forget you have Kemba Walker. I
forgot about that. Wow.
Kemba Walker's perfect for a rebuilding young team.
He's happy
perfect
on every single team he's on.
That is true, and
he's happy on every single team he's on. He just embraces life.
The oldest player on the team by like a couple years, like, only because we have so many young guys. Like, SGA
he's exactly what you need. He's going to teach the young guys. He's going to be great for the locker room. You're not ready to compete for a final yet, so it doesn't matter if Kemba Walker is your point guard right now.
Yeah, I know. OKC news right now is just like, oh, it's such a mess. It's such a mess. But you know what? It's the team I picked to follow years and years ago. I gotta stick with them.
Yeah, I mean, you look who you're talking to about that kind of stuff. One thing I just also, with this like draft stuff in the off season, all 3 of our GMs / presidents are always playing chess and never checkers.
Never. 3D chess sometimes.
Like, Timberwolves just traded away Ricky Rubio for Taurean Prince, a second rounder, and some cash.
And you know that's because there's conversations happening.
Oh, no. Like I brought up to my friend, and everyone else started saying it, like, on Timberwolves like Twitter feed and stuff. I can guarantee you this is step 1 of 4 different steps to get what he, like, when we got D'Angelo Russell last year, he pulled off like 3 trades before he got to the trade he wanted exactly. And the only way he could have got that is doing it 4 different trades and stuff. So, and that's the same with you, Jade. You know all about that. And Shay, you got Presti, so he's been doing that. And
it's crazy right now in Raptor world because Ujiri has not signed his new contract, and people are panicking.
He's playing chess.
He's playing chess, but 2, Masai Ujiri is not interested in leaving a job unfinished. So
True.
until the draft is over, until free agency is over, he's not worried about his own contract. He's got stuff to do first, and he's going to do that first.
He controls his own future in Toronto.
For sure.
Like,
And,
I don't think
nobody questions that.
no, and I don't think
everybody knows that.
And I don't mean this is going to sound. I don't think anyone in Toronto also kind of has the balls to fire Ujiri just because he has such a great track record. No matter how long he's there, like no one's going to be like, yeah, he's gone.
If Masai Ujiri wants to stay, he's staying.
That's right.
Whatever he wants, they're going to give it to him. If he doesn't stay, it's because he's decided no matter what not to stay. Just like Kawhi.
I think Masai Ujiri is actually the most popular Toronto Raptors figure of all time.
I would agree with that.
It's not Vince Carter. It's not Chris Bosh. It's not Kyle Lowry. None of that. It's Masai. They didn't even step on the court. Actually, no, he did, and then he got escorted out in Golden State.
No, he didn't get to the court. He was still between rows of chairs.
All right, so proving my point even more.
And then Kyle came and got him.
See, like I said, get to my point. Proving my point even more. Poor dude. But so I'm going to talk about that first overall pick, Cade Cunningham, because I feel like we should talk about the number one overall pick. So, and we all know Detroit is team purgatory right now. Granted, they're actually also perfect team rebuild. Is this a good pick for them? I mean, the guy quoted saying he wants to bring back the bad boys. So since he said that, Jade, how would you feel if you were a Detroit fan and you see your number one overall picks? Like, I want to bring it back. I
mean,
the right thing was said, but maybe not going to work out.
I guess you have to respect it, but like the league is different. So I don't know how you're going to be the bad boys now. Like you can't really anymore. The idea of bringing good basketball back to Detroit, great. Is he going to be able to do it? Is he okay? Here's the question that you have for a few organizations in the league right now, and Detroit is one of them. Is any combination of players' talent enough to overcome the incompetence of the front office?
Very true.
One first overall pick from where Detroit is right now, I don't think is going to be enough. If they start making other moves that make sense, they get the right coach, they get the right personnel, and start to turn things around, sure, this could be a first step towards that. It's not going to be enough by itself.
What do you think about this one, Jade or Shay? Good pickup for Detroit, or were they just going for the best player in the draft, regardless if they needed it?
I personally think they were going for the best player, which, I mean, sure, if you have the number one draft pick and you're the Pistons right now, I mean, why not? I don't think it's necessarily a bad move when you're a smaller franchise who is not doing so hot, and you have the first round pick. Like, you know, it's great. And Cade Cunningham was successful in college. He's fun to watch. And he has that ambition that you don't necessarily see in all the guys who come out of college or even the young guys anymore. You know, I don't want to put him on the same level as like a businessman like LeBron, because I don't know, you know, people like Jordan and LeBron who are so business savvy, unless you want to deal with the Charlotte Hornets, which I don't get that business investment at all, but is very, very specific. And I think you got to earn that title. I don't think that you just have like a natural charisma that like you also have to know how to use that charisma. But I don't know. There was a little bit of hope for me that he would go to OKC only because I like the fact that there would have been built-in audience for him. You know, just Stillwater's not super far away from Oklahoma City. That would have been nice because he's liked a lot in Oklahoma. But, you know, I can't get everything that I want for the Thunder, obviously. And again, I'm not upset with the Giddey choice. But I'm also not completely sold on Cunningham as a pro player. I think he's got to earn his keep, and I don't know if the Pistons is going to be the place that is going to be able to kind of mentor him into that.
Yeah, I mean, who's the coach right now? Dwayne Casey?
Yeah.
I mean,
Dwayne Casey's the perfect coach.
He's good with a young team.
For developing teams.
Yes. I'm so happy, Jade, that you can still acknowledge that there is some redeemable quality for Dwayne Casey.
I always said that. He wasn't a playoff coach.
Yeah.
But like when you're talking about taking, like basically Dwayne Casey got a Toronto Raptors team that was rebuilding, damn near rebuilding, maybe not quite fully imploded, but like
a retool.
They were doing a retool, and a lot of those guys had to develop for them to progress where they were, and most of them are productive on the other teams they are in the NBA. Jonas Valanciunas, DeLon Wright, Norman Powell, Jakob Poeltl, like all of these guys are solid pieces of the teams they went on to, and they were all developed under Casey.
Well, and I will say, the last thing I will say is that, like, there are a lot of other young players that I really like on the team. And again, it's not just because of their OKC connection. Like when Hamidou Diallo was at OKC, he needed a coach that was not Billy Donovan. Diallo has a certain fire that Donovan didn't know what to do with. And so he just kind of looked like a lanky, like, guy with a ball out there, and he looked ridiculous. So, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I might be almost like a little jealous that the Pistons are a young team with structure.
Like if you look at their starting lineup, it's like, so now it's going to be Cunningham. He's going to be starter right away.
Oh, yeah.
They have like a second year. They got like 2 other first year, and then a guy that just was a rookie this past year. Like that's their starting lineup. So and then
all the supporting players for off the bench, like they're actually tuning up to be a pretty nice
5 years
team.
from now, 4 years from now, Detroit's going to be.
In the meantime, I'm gonna get my passport and see a lot of basketball for really cheap because Detroit's gonna suck for a while.
Oh yeah, but
yeah, get that.
I would
passport.
love hearing that Detroit basketball chant. The Detroit basketball.
You'll only ever hear it if the Raptors are not in town.
But all right,
I'm not kidding. That place fills up with Raptors fans when the Raptors play there. They play loud music in Detroit to try and drown out the Raptors fans.
Oh my gosh.
It's bad. It's so close. It's closer. It's still closer for me than going to Toronto.
Really? I didn't realize that.
I can be in Detroit in like 2 hours. It's at least 3 hours to Toronto from here.
That's so fun.
I didn't know you were
I'm jealous of cheap basketball. Now that the Nets are good, I don't get any cheap stuff.
It's over.
Because when the Knicks were bad, the tickets were still expensive because it was,
Knicks
will
MSG. Always be expensive.
And now they're
always expensive.
Always. And now they're good. So that exactly. And now the Nets. Yep. Oh, this next season, I want to go to at least one game, but it's annoying.
See, like Glenn Taylor, he bumped the prices after the Timberwolves made the playoffs that one year at some spots at 52%. But now to make up for everything, one of the ideas that they've now done, which I mean, I kind of get now, season ticket holders, they get 50% off literally everything. Drinks, food, the store itself. Which I was just like thinking of the store. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
I'd be getting so I was just like, you know what? Like the tickets may suck, but
there's a lot of perks.
Yeah, they figured out how to reap. I'm curious if this was a slight idea from Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lore to kind of being like, hey, you guys ready for us? In 2.5 years?
It's a great idea.
2.5, yeah.
2.5 years? Hopefully you don't follow Glenn Taylor too closely how to do it. But anywho, how about we head up, like we mentioned before, the big old topic that I know Shay would prefer not to, but I really want to talk about it because I see it on TV all the time at work right now. So Westbrook going west. So first, I mean, we got to mention LeBron with this right away because we know that LeBron was the one that secretly started all this, even though nothing was said at first. Now I figured out LeBron James and Anthony Davis met up with him 2 weeks ago, and they're like, we need to set aside our egos. But so LeBron is done. He said he's done being primarily ball handler. He doesn't want to do it. Which Westbrook is a primary ball handler guy. Is he the right one though? Because originally everyone thought it was going to be CP3. So I'm going to go with you, Shay, first on this one. Is Westbrook the right ball handler for the Lakers right now?
Look, I might be a little biased because of how much I hate the Lakers. Like, I distaste the Lakers. I hate saying I hate things. But yeah, I loathe them quite a bit. I don't like the idea of Westbrook there. But I don't necessarily know if Chris Paul in this example would be a better fit personality-wise, though I am not sold on Westbrook being the right personality to go with AD and LeBron. That's my thing, though, because, like, Chris Paul seems like he's really chill, but, like, then you see the way he reacts to calls, and you're like, that's just another big personality, too. So, I don't, but maybe the Westbrook thing is going to work out. I mean, again, he's from LA. He, grew up there. This is another one of those stories. I actually, if before this happened, I was actually wondering if he was going to try to make it to the Clippers, just because I thought there could be some trades and some movement happening on that side of LA. I wouldn't have been happy with either of them.
I was gonna say, you would wish the Clippers on Russell Westbrook.
I would rather wish the Lakers over the Clippers.
Well, but also, my dad texted me even this morning, which my dad sticks enough with basketball to talk it with me. And then he somehow brings like Larry Bird into it. And I'm like, Dad, Larry Bird has not been in the league for how long? Like, how are we talking about Larry Bird again?
Such an old dude pick. It is such an old dude go-to.
He's like, I love Birdman. And I'm like, anyway.
Yeah.
So my dad texted me at 7:24 this morning, which meant it was 6:24 his time. And he said, the apocalypse is here. Westbrook to the Lakers. In all caps. OMG.
That would be something my parents would say.
To talk about this.
That would be something my parents, exactly how they put it too. And the time texted it too. It's exactly what my parents would do.
I don't want to start my morning with this text. Thank you. So I don't know. I mean, I am happy that this could be like, it definitely ups his potential for getting a ring before he's completely out of his prime. He's back home. There is some positives here, but this is not going to make me want to watch a Lakers game, even though he's still my favorite player.
You're going to see him on TV a lot more.
I will see him on TV a lot more, but I don't know if I can do it. Like, I don't know if I can physically handle watching it.
Your hatred towards the Lakers is stronger than the love you have for Westbrook.
Your love for Russell Westbrook. That's the line you want to draw. You can make a different choice, Shane. You can make a different choice.
Look, I need to work on it. It's only been 24 hours.
That is very fair.
Only 24 hours.
So I totally came at this, like I said earlier, with a silver linings, because I knew Shay was going to be bummed about this. And the first one she's already mentioned. This is Russell Westbrook's best chance in his career ever.
Right.
To get a ring.
Right.
And he can get to do it at home in front of his friends and his family and his roots. Like, if you love Russell Westbrook outside of basketball, this has to be a little bit exciting.
Yeah.
Because not only will he get the ring, he will be a really important part of it. If the idea, which makes perfect sense, is that Russ is going to handle the ball. It makes perfect sense that LeBron's done handling the ball. He's old, he's tired, but he has enough in him if you shift that responsibility to get another ring, right? This is the same thing the Raptors did with Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet. They started together. It should never work for two 6-foot guards to start, but it works. And Lowry stopped being the primary ball handler and sent that to Fred VanVleet. Lowry played as good a basketball as he's played his entire career, like that.
Yeah.
Because you've got two ball handlers on the floor. If something happens, LeBron can run the point if it's necessary, if the play demands it, if the flow of the game demands it. But we know what Russ can do with the ball in his hands. We watched it. Like, the man had, if I'm not mistaken, a record number of triple-doubles last season.
Yeah.
And now he
Season
can
before.
do it. This is the season before.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was this past season. And
I think
Yes, I
it was,
think it
it was
was.
just this past season. Yeah.
now he can do it on his way to a ring. Okay, but here's the bigger one. There's a much bigger silver lining here that I promise you guys have not thought about.
I'm ready.
With this trade, we get to go back to a world where Kyle Kuzma is no longer relevant.
How did I know this was going to be about Kuzma?
Sacramento,
It's pretty
we
bad.
don't have to see him on national broadcasts every week. We don't have to hear his name. I don't have to know if he looks like Eminem this week or like himself. We can stop talking about Kyle Kuzma.
Watch it. He actually like blows up because he doesn't have the media in his face all the time or complete criticism all the time.
Don't even say that.
Yeah.
I would think it's
Please.
We're
hilarious.
trying to cheer Shay up here, Taylor. You are wrecking the process.
Yeah, Taylor. Blame TJ.
I'm just saying Kuzma.
Maybe he blows up.
No. There's so many other players that can blow up this next season. Don't let it be Kyle Kuzma.
Like he would. Let's be real.
I'll pick Caruso blowing up over
The
Kyle
only
Kuzma.
reason, like, he was the face
I
of the
would
trade.
too.
What?
I would take Caruso blowing up over Kuzma too.
Yeah. Didn't he just get arrested on a weed charge?
Yes, he did.
Anyway.
How? He lives in Cali.
I
Whatever.
don't. Yeah. I don't understand.
Anywho.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anywho. Now, so the Lakers only have 5 people on the roster right now, like signed through next year. And that is so this big three Davis, LeBron, and Westbrook, and then Marc Gasol. We all love him, but he's old as dirt.
Yeah.
And
They signed him for 2 years.
Yeah.
I guess
Why
so.
did they sign him for 2? Oh my gosh.
Doesn't
Sorry.
And then the other, I can't remember what the other guy's name is. He's a rookie from last year. But it's those 5 players.
Great.
So they have no bench and no wiggle room
They
to
have
cap.
10
Open
10
spots
open roster spots.
because of free agency and because they were
Wow.
signing small contracts. All of them were doing
How do
one-year
you
contracts.
manage yourself into having to sign 10 players in the off season? That's just bad management. Like, aren't you
No, that is.
supposed to look at that stuff?
And you're the Lakers. Like, you're not like
You're
a
relying
small,
on LeBron James to bring in people. You're
No,
relying on
LeBron
him.
James is 36 years old. He's had the worst injury of his career. He's never going to be the same. I'm calling it right now.
I do think we'll see I don't think a career low in minutes, but some of the lowest minutes per game he'll have since.
He's going to take it easy. Like, let's not forget, this is LeBron James we're talking about. He has managed his way to his rings. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm saying that he's figured out how to work the system. This phase of working the system is going to be called I'm old now. And like,
I'm old now.
I'm still going to be productive. I'm still going to be on this team. I'm still going to get more rings if I can. But I know realistically that I can't carry the same load I used to carry. I need more help.
Right.
I expect to also see a lot of, and I completely understand it, a lot of walking for him against lesser teams, like say Sacramento. Him just being like, oh, okay.
Listen, I have a feeling LeBron James's tune about load management will change either next season or the one after. He's always said he's never going to do it. We all know that he does it in game. Like, let's be real.
Oh yeah.
You remember a few years ago, it was like, oh, LeBron's on the decline. I was like, no, he just knows this team can't compete, and he's not going to hurt himself.
Why is he
over
gonna?
it.
Yeah, why would he
And
do
then the
that?
following season is like, oh, LeBron's back. It's like, no, LeBron has never gone. LeBron is too smart to waste his energy.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
and so now that he knows that his energy is never going to be like, and some people think it's like he should never admit that he's never going to be the same. I think good for him.
Yeah,
Like,
Oh yeah.
what shame is there in getting older and
You're a
everything that he's already
human.
accomplished? Like,
Exactly. He's got
Good on him.
really nothing else to prove.
no,
He's got
now
nothing
he's
else to prove.
just to the point where I can manage myself into a couple more rings, probably.
If yeah,
While I
at
wait
this
for Bronny to declare for the draft, and you know,
Actually, speaking of, actually no, that I'm saving that for later. I just
Oh.
remembered something, but I'm saving that for later. Gotta.
later. Like in the
Okay.
next 5 minutes? Like later. God.
Okay,
so Shay, what does this mean for Bradley Beal? Because like the Wizards are kind of contemplating trading him. And
Yeah.
he's like, I didn't say I want to be traded. I still
I
want to
didn't
be
hear
here right now.
I didn't hear they were thinking about trading him. I heard they
There had
traded Westbrook
before
because
every
they wanted to build around him.
before they got rid of Westbrook, that was still the plan. But now there's been because do they do full blow up mode? Shay.
I personally think that if Beal wants to stay, you keep him.
So keep him.
I agree.
Yeah. Because
Although I think the better move for his career is to move.
I agree.
Oh well, yeah.
I agree with Shay that if he wants to stay, you keep him there.
Just in the terms of a business movement, that would be horrible because DC is already not a team that people like go see the games for. Like I mean, I don't have the numbers, but I almost feel like Timberwolves probably drawing more people, to be honest.
No. No.
Well, it's got to be per capita. Comparing the cities and states and stuff, I would be interested in that because I'm like,
the only team that maybe is more is Sacramento, and they actually now hold the current longest playoff drought because the last time they made the playoffs was when
yeah,
the Timberwolves got to the Western Conference
Right?
Finals, and we actually beat them in the playoffs in the second round. So that's how long.
I'm
The
just
thing
my
about the
point
location,
being-
the thing about the location in Washington, though, is like how many other basketball CDs are a few hours away?
Exactly. Like even, I mean,
And
everything.
Wizards tickets are going to be cheaper than Philly, New York, Brooklyn, Boston. I think that's all the teams that are
Charlotte.
like a road
Even
trip.
Charlotte.
A road trip away from Washington D.C.
Yeah, that's like NBA haven in this like northeastern area.
Exactly.
So my point being that you keep an attraction, and Beal is a big deal. Oh, it rhymed. But Beal is a big deal there, and he is liked by the franchise and the fans. So I think if he wants to stay,
Don't rhyme like that on me. Jeez.
I'm sorry, it was
Bad
so
rhyme.
natural.
Bad rhyme. That made me mad.
I didn't even do that on purpose.
If Washington wants to rebuild, you wait till Bradley Beal's ready to leave, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I don't think they have. I don't know. I think they need to clean house as far as their front office. And if you're not going to do that, if Bradley Beal wants to stay, you should keep him. If it's part of a move by a new management team, I see that a little bit differently. As things stand right now, like unless you have a plan going forward for what you want to do, you keep Bradley Beal until you decide if he fits with the plan or not.
Did they fire Scotty?
Yes, they did.
Okay,
And
I thought
Yeah, they did.
I was just about
I
to
mean,
say,
good.
and that was one thing. Beal was, as it said on Bleacher Report, was irked that they didn't go to him at least for his idea for maybe a coaching recommendation. But
Like at least
teams don't have to do that.
No.
I mean, teams don't necessarily have to do it, but with your best player, you should at least be like,
might
hey, like
wanna
this is
do
who
it.
we're thinking about coaching. Do you think he'd be able to coach you well? Like, is this someone you could work with?
Things are changing. There are going to be more players in ownership positions. There's going to be, if you follow football, there's a big thing going on with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers right now, which has to do with this too, where he's like, if you don't want me to have a say, move me somewhere.
Then move me somewhere I can have a say.
Right.
Yeah,
so
when you're the star player for your team.
He was very public about things he didn't agree with and how they've drafted his replacement and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, the point is players are going to have more autonomy over their careers moving forward.
Yes.
And with kids being able to get paid now, that's going to feed into that as well, because they are going to have more control from the time they go into college at 18 years old.
Which that makes me so excited because we can finally screw over the NCAA after all their years of taking advantage
The
of everyone.
NCAA I think is going to dissolve. I think it's going to cease to exist. And its purpose is gone now. Because what did it do except for make sure kids didn't get paid?
Which is the worst.
And then pull in the most money, arguably, all year for a sporting event in March Madness.
Yeah.
Like that's, yeah. But so with the Lakers, with this new trade, are they the favorites now? Or with the questioning of all who's going to be on the bench, is that still up for grabs, Jade?
The bench 100% matters because you can't count on AD injury rise. You don't know if you're going to be able to count on LeBron anymore injury rise. He missed a lot of time this season. And Westbrook is a year or two away, I think, from starting to have those kinds of nagging little injuries. The Lakers have to have a bench. It matters.
The money. They don't got the money for a good bench.
If we get a healthy Kyrie, Durant, Harden, and a healthy LeBron, healthy AD, and healthy Westbrook, I would love to see some games. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that I'm not a fan of the super teams, but that sounds really nice.
But if you're gonna go with the big three on each team, I think who wins comes down to if you eliminate those 6 guys, who's left?
That is true. That is
right.
true.
You know some of the people who are going to be in Brooklyn. We know Blake Griffin's there. We know Joe Harris is still there. There's a few guys there that we know what to expect from them. The Lakers outside of the big three are a huge question mark right now.
Marcus,
we have no idea what they're going to look. Okay, Marc Gasol, Blake.
No, I was going to say we have no idea what he's going to look like. Yeah, he's going to be on the bench. That's what he's going to look like.
It's literally Marc Gasol.
So, it's going to be an interesting free agency and offseason for the Lakers because they're going to be unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep. It's a quintessential LeBron James team where he'll completely clean house.
Yeah.
They're going to be either, I don't know, they're going to be into the luxury tax, I expect.
Yeah, I would
say that.
If they've got
100%. They'd be swimming in it.
Roster spots, they have to be pushing for it's finals or bust again with Westbrook there now.
They're swimming in luxury tax right now. But okay, with these three, how quickly, or even I'll just put my hand in front of the camera, can they even mesh? Or if they can, how quickly can they mesh, Shay?
I think they can. I think it's going to take some adjustment period, especially depending on LeBron's time, for each game, because that's an adjustment period for himself. We're going to have Russ stepping into a new position on a new team. And we have AD who, is he even healthy? Are we going to have a healthy AD, you think, this season? That's a big question, too. So, I think there's definitely some questions there. I mean, again, that's why in a healthy world, I would love to see these guys play some ball, but I don't know. It's definitely going to be up in the air.
every offseason, Anthony Davis just needs to be like frozen like a super soldier and then unfrozen by the time the season starts. So
He
he
could
doesn't
be like
even
Han
risk,
Solo. And
doesn't
just,
even risk an injury during the offseason. They're just like, we're
I-
gonna just put you in a cryogenic tank and you're gonna be there for
done.
6 months. See you
Yep.
there.
I think the Lakers are going to come together and surprise everybody. This is a move that to me makes sense. And the moves that LeBron's teams have had player-wise usually make sense. We've talked about it before. The only player who has said, let me play with that guy and been successful has been LeBron. And he's done it more than once now. He's done it more than twice now. He's done it 3 times now. So the idea that he hasn't already, like, to Shay's point, that it's going to be an adjustment period, I think he's already made the mental adjustment, and that's what's going to make it easy.
Well,
And
your
I'm
optimism feels nice, but
I'm sure that also Russell Westbrook's one of those players that LeBron's been wanting to play with, just because
For
someone
sure.
with that much intensity.
right.
And to play
Someone
at
that-
home, like it's every NBA player's dream
Yeah,
to play
I
at
mean,
home.
I followed him since. I mean, I loved him at UCLA. Him and Kevin Love together, and they were roommates too. And the stories, like I've listened to a couple stories that they had as roommates. Man, they must have had a lot of fun together as roommates.
Maybe
that
Kevin
always
Love will
makes
end up in LA.
That would
I
be kind
mean,
of fun.
have him come off. I mean, I don't know how they would because he's got a huge contract. So
Yeah.
they don't have anything or anyone to trade. They don't got anything. So
Geez, they can't. Wow. This is a really dumb situation for an organization. Like, every time I think about it, there's another layer, because I hadn't thought at that point where they don't have any assets. They have to sign 10 guys in free agency this
With
summer.
no one to trade.
And it's not a huge free agent.
no, that's the other thing. This is not that big of a free agency.
No.
No.
It's next year. It's next
Yep.
year.
Yeah, so that's fun.
Okay. Well, fun stuff today. We've got a nice long episode for everyone. Big stuff for a big return. Revisiting the finals and our final thoughts on it. Draft night takes. And the first big trade this offseason with Russ going to the Lakers. So, got that all set and covered. Now it's time for the thing that we all love, or at least I do, Fast Break, where I ask 3 different questions for Shay and Jade that they have no prior knowledge to, and I'll see if they can guess it right or hear what they think. Okay, so first one. Since we're talking about the Lakers, this is going to be 2 different big threes, and it's both in their prime. So the first one is the Westbrook, James, Davis. So it's going to be any point in their career, but just this big 3. Or Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard. Jade, who do you got in prime?
I have to take Westbrook, James, and Davis.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the talent, the talent level, I think is just, I mean, with the exception of Kobe Bryant, I know Nash is an all-time, and Howard is, I think the Howard Davis matchup is the one for me.
The one
I think-
thing I'll add, though, in prime, Dwight Howard was 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. So, do you think he might be able to handle Anthony Davis?
No,
That's a thing to add to it.
No, I agree, but I don't think Howard had to play anybody with Anthony Davis as wingspan.
That's true.
That's very valid. So, do I even ask you, Shay, after I look at it? I'm like, you seem pretty.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with that second one.
With Nash, Kobe, and Howard?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
I already was feeling it, and then when you brought up the Dwight Howard, but I don't know. I like the idea of Nash and Kobe against Westbrook and LeBron. Like, I feel like that matchup might be a little bit more better.
I feel like the Nash and Kobe team would be much more controlled, and they would control the tempo.
Right.
Rush,
I
James,
think
and Davis.
I think they would try.
But the thing, I think they could do Russ, James, and Davis, I feel like they'd have to be running the entire time. I could see Kobe, Nash, and Howard actually like set up something. I don't know.
Right.
This is a 3v3 hypothetical stuff. But so Nick, next question. I'm gonna do big three again, and it's gonna be about the current big threes of
Okay, correct.
Brooklyn and LA.
Ugh.
Which big three bugs you more? Shay.
Are we talking just about the LA Lakers big three?
No, of between the Nets big three right now or the Lakers big three right now. Which one bugs you more?
This is so hard. But I'm gonna have to go with the Nets because James Harden is definitely my least favorite player in the league, so I gotta go with that one.
Okay. Jade, how about you?
I'm going with the Nets too.
Nets?
Much like Blake Griffin complicated my feelings about the Nets, Westbrook complicates my feelings about the Lakers.
I get it. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. Last question. The third Ball brothers back in the league. He was just signed to the summer league.
Yep.
Jade, which team was he just signed to?
I have no idea. Are you kidding?
I saw this, but I don't remember who it was.
Which summer league team, Jade?
I didn't even see it. Huh? Which summer league team?
Which summer league team did
I feel like you're asking me hard, so it must be the Raptors.
No, okay.
No,
and Shay,
no,
who do you
I
got?
have no idea.
I just want to say that it's the Hornets, even though I know that's where the other, like the youngest is. But
Ding, 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 ding. It is.
okay, so I
actually
did read
Charlotte.
that. I did read that
Yeah.
correctly.
Because LeVar now says that Lonzo should go there. And
Of course he does.
Exactly. The guy who said, I don't want my son there is now like, bring them all here. We'll
Right.
get a title within the first 2 seasons together.
With all the Ball
Okay.
brothers.
Okay, actually, quick question. Another question. Question 4.
Bonus.
So this goes with how long LeBron James has been playing. So Bronny now has teammates that are in the league right now.
Yep.
Jade,
I
how
saw
many
that
players?
last night.
How many
2,
players?
I think.
Jade
2?
or Shay?
I thought it was 2.
Yep, 2. I just saw that one
Yeah.
today and I was like, oh my gosh.
Do you think that LeBron and Bronny will play a game, like a season together?
I
think
kind
if
of hope.
LeBron wants it, it's going to happen.
True.
That's
That's
I
true.
kind of hope it does because one of my favorite and I don't care about baseball at all. But one of my favorite baseball players / athletes is Ken Griffey Jr. And he actually played like a season or 2 with his dad with the Seattle Mariners. And I think that was totally awesome. I was like, you get to play baseball with your dad?
Professional baseball.
Yeah,
Or like
that's
sports
awesome.
with
You
your
get to play with your dad.
parents.
It's like going in the backyard again. That's great.
And like, there's a lot of sons of former players in the league at
Right.
any given time. There's a lot right now, but I can't think of any that got to play together.
with them.
There's because none of them have been playing long. Didn't play long enough.
They did their
Right.
careers didn't last long enough.
Yeah, or they careers in, and like I said, look, I mean, I don't think, at least basketball wise, I don't think that's ever happened. Other sports like baseball, it is a little bit easier, but
Right.
Yeah, because those guys play for a while, but they're also not like, it's not as intense as.
no, yeah, they play, yeah. So,
Yeah.
Okay, wow, yeah, today was a lot of fun. Welcome back to
Meaty.
everybody. It was grand, and the off season is coming up right around the corner, so they already had a big trade go through, so can only expect more. So, on that note, adios, and it was great.